Hello to my fellow readers, casual and professional. This is where we share and collect stories, and we're going to be talking about the ones that I read and recommend from October. I am not even going to lie. I felt a little bit of shame about the fact that I only read 4 books this month. I almost forced myself to read 5 because I was like, 4 is like a little low. Like, maybe I should just push myself to do 1 more. That's hilarious. Like, that's actually hilarious. Especially because I don't even believe in the fact that quantity should like speak to your worth as a reader at all. The focus should be quality for me. And I read so many quality stories, and that should really just be like the thing that I'm proud of, and I am. But every once in a while it'll creep into my head like, hey, all of these other people that are making book content are reading like 18 books in a day, so why would we not? Because I have a 9 to 5, because I have 3 YouTube channels, because I value my peace and I don't want to get burnt out. Maybe that. I read 2 thrillers, 1 nonfiction, a memoir, and 1 literary fiction. Also, let me just include that whenever I am looking for a 5-star read, which is not like always, like you don't always have to look for your most perfect read in order for a story to have value. But what I look for in a book that to me encapsulates like a perfect experience, is I like for books to be introspective, to have social commentary. I like humor. It's not necessary, but I do like when a book does it well. I also like grief. Like if I can cry and laugh with equal amount and equal intensity, like amazing. Did I say social commentary? This is how I rate books. I rate them kind of the way that I would rate food. So like a 1 star is a regrettable experience. It made you sick. You'll never do that again. 2 star is like bland, basic, like no seasoning, nothing takeawayable. 3 star is like, it's just like baseline fast food. It is your like McDonald's, Wendy's, Taco Bell, like good. Like you don't regret it, but there's no substance there. There's no like nutrition, you know? 4 star would be if you are having kind of like a fine dining experience. To me, fine dining experiences do not come often. I would love if they were more frequent, but they don't really come often. They're kind of rare. Let's say it's a fine dining experience with like a friend or a loved one. A 5 star is if you had a personal chef make your favorite meal to like perfection. The first book that I read is actually the last book that I read, but I kind of wanted to talk about it first. Loved One by Aisha Muhair. Oh my goodness. I think I just posted about this, that I just got this from the library. This was something that I think I caught on a most anticipated books of 2025, like New York Times list. And it really did live up to the anticipation that they had, that they then put on to me when I held it at my library. But if you don't know anything about this book, Aisha Muhair is a writer. She's written for Parks and Rec, Hacks, The Good Place. Essentially, this book is based on the idea of like, imagine you hook up with your long-term friend. Okay, your long-term friend. After the night you hook up, he ghosts you, and then a month later he dies. So you have no explanation, no communication as to why what happened. Nothing to go off of, but you are left with the grief of figuring everything out. Imagine. That's what this book is. I think that grief is such a versatile topic to write on because you could really go so many ways with it. This contemporary fiction coming of age story highlights grief in a kind of like humorous way. The humor was subtle, but it also like was striking in a way, because a lot of the story is focusing on kind of the what ifs and the introspection of her relationship with her friend Gabe. Also, I didn't even mention the characters' names. It's Julia and Gabe. The story goes back and forth between when they first met and they had dated and became friends for much later. And then when he died, it still went kind of back and forth. And I feel like it really highlights the journey that you take with grief. When somebody dies, you do think about your past relationship with them in so many different tones. The overall tone was, kind of the idealizing phase of grief, but then also there is the part of grief where you're thinking about the things that are kind of unfavorable about them, which ties into the anger of grief. It was just phenomenal. I loved this so much. If you are thinking about it and if it's on your TBR, just read it now. I gave it a 4 out of 5 because I will say, like, it had pretty much most things I was looking for when I look for like a 5-star, but it's one of those books that I got fatigue at the very end. I was kind of like, okay, I feel like I have everything I need to know, and I kind of just want this to like wrap up. And so I'm kind of just like flipping through, kind of hoping to just get to like the last paragraph and to be like, oh, wow, perfect, you know? But great. Next book, this is the only book that I'm going to physically show you because I am strictly a library user, except for when I really like a book, I'll buy it. So if you don't see me like pulling anything up, it's just because like they're not there. Next book is called The Wife Before by Shanora Williams. I was looking for specifically a Black or POC thriller because I've noticed that because I like thrillers a lot, I just go for like the popular thrillers that everybody's talking about. And a lot of them tend to be white authors. And I hate that I even have this thought, but like even for myself as a Black person, like I do have to dig a little bit. And I think that it's great that we're having kind of this push of people specifically seeking out BIPOC authors, because I think some people are confused as to like, why the heck do we have to give Black people or queer people a push? It's 2025. None of that matters. It actually does, because if you think about history and the way that history affects the present, we are still dealing with those effects today, and like exposure as it relates to BIPOC or queer stories are always something that has had to like have its own separate push. It's not something that's been like naturally integrated. Even the idea of like a BIPOC story, it kind of puts into your head like, oh, there are like regular stories and then there are BIPOC and queer stories, when like hopefully one day it can kind of just come together and like you can just recognize a story for a story. So unfortunately we do kind of have to like push and like dig for queer and BIPOC like things to be mentioned so that they can be on the level of like regular like white authors, if that makes sense. I'm pretty sure I didn't have to like explain that to my regular viewer who like just gets what I'm trying to say, but I feel like I have just seen that I've seen that perspective and I've had those conversations before, that I just like, let me just throw it out. Anyway, Shanora Williams. This story is focused on this girl named Samira. She's not a girl, she's a woman named Samira. Samira is kind of an impulsive person that's having trouble getting her shit together. Really, that's kind of what it is. She can't seem to keep a job. She's leaning on her relatives for financial help and just any sort of like stability as it relates to home. And she stumbles across this man who she didn't know at the time is a celebrity, successful, kind of wealthy man who's famous. When they start dating, it seems to make her life a little bit better. The only flaw is that he is somewhat accused of killing his first wife. And so she's bargaining with herself in the beginning, like, is this worth pursuing or what? And so the story is focused on like, oh, what happened to the wife before? There are a lot of aspects of this that talked about the generational effects of abuse, mental, emotional, physical, sexual abuse that it has on not only the victim, but the victim's future loved ones, that I really, really did appreciate, that the author actually explicitly talks about in the end. That being said, I didn't love it to where I needed to read it again, or honestly that I would really fully recommend if you were looking for a thriller. I think there are potentially better thrillers out there. It's hard to say hard things. It is. Next book we have Just the Nicest Couple by Mary Kabuka. Just the Nicest Couple is about two pairs of couples. We start off with this one couple and their perspective, where this husband comes home and sees that his wife is kind of acting odd, and this wife mentioned that she saw the husband of the other couple out and about. It kind of seems like, okay, so you saw this person. The book gets into why the wife is kind of shook up by seeing this other husband out and about. Basically, you can tell the wife is hiding a humongous secret. This secret then becomes her husband's problem and becomes another couple's problem because it involves bad behavior from the husband of the other couple. I don't know if that made any sense whatsoever. I can't think about how else to frame it at all. This was kind of like a typical, can I say popcorn thriller? I don't know if I can say that because I don't even really fully know what popcorn thriller is defined as. To me, it's kind of just like a thriller you can throw on with some popcorn and it's kind of fun and like light, I suppose. I liked it. It kept me on my toes, but it was one of those audio thrillers that I read that was the typical, like the cadence of the typical. I saw her down at the pond. My God, she looked beautiful in that light. Suddenly, I got the urge to push her into the water. Why would I think about pushing her into the water? No. Just because my mother was murdered doesn't mean I need to murder her. It's like that. You know what cadence I'm talking about. Interesting, but I will honestly say there might be better thrillers out there. I kind of don't recommend if you're looking for like a good thriller. It's just kind of just like a regular fun read that I don't regret, but if you're looking for like more substance, you could find it. We have Beautiful Country by Chan Julie Wang. If you watched my video that was on my attempt to join a book club, this is the book that was on, and you probably know all about it, so feel free to skip. This book is a memoir about Chan Julie Wang's life when she immigrated from China to Brooklyn, New York, and was severely impoverished by the age of 7. And it's a retelling of her experience that was incredibly difficult and traumatizing of coming to this country that has been described, as like a beautiful country, as the land of never-ending opportunities, and so many things that America's been played up to be. But the reality of being here was something incredibly different. The racism and xenophobia that her parents and her experienced explicitly was very difficult to read, but in this climate, I think is so incredibly necessary to be exposed to because it is happening right now. Like, this was in the 90s. God, the information that was shared is like reflective of the things that we're dealing with right now in 2025. As an immigrant myself, I relate to a lot of the through lines that she did bring up, but her experience was just so incredibly horrendous and difficult and sad. But I will say, as much as it was horrific, like there's so many things that, like I'm saying, like I related to it. There's so many things that I didn't even think that you could be honest about in a book that, like, if I was to write a memoir, I would not think to include like, oh, that time that I lied to like my fellow 5th grade classmates about some of these things that I was ashamed of, because she brings those things up. Like, she brings up the ways that she used to lie to her classmates, the way that she used to be cruel to her classmates because she was speaking out of a place of insecurity. So many things that were so relatable that it was like bone chilling a little bit. I don't rate nonfiction, so I'm not rating this, but it was just a phenomenal story that really stuck with me for like a couple of days. And I think that's what a great book does, is it sticks with you and you think about it. Let me know what you read in October. Let me know how you feel about the quantity versus quality like debate. I feel like that's constantly going on in a reader's head. Wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever time of day it is, I hope you have an amazing morning, afternoon, or night.